Hello, friends. It is Hannah and Lauren here today. And we are continuing really our conversation from last week. And actually, this whole month, we're talking about what's crunchy. What's crunchy in your human design, in Gene Keys, in your energy that sometimes we don't like what we hear at first. And how do we understand, how do we soften around that um to be able to see ourselves more clearly.
Mhm.
And so this is a continuation. We stopped last time and said, okay, we need to pick up because that's too much. It's too much to get to in one sitting. So we're going to continue with that. We're going to pick up with 3-5 profiles in human design. But before that, I want to remind everyone you're listening to the Expansive CEO podcast. And this month in January of 2026, we are going through this transition phase, which is so cool and beautiful. Where if you are a regular listener of the podcast, you know that we've typically had interview episodes on Tuesdays and then Investment Friday episodes on Fridays. Well, as a reminder, I'm going to talk about this the whole month. So you can fast forward if you want. But if you have not heard yet, Investment Friday is going to its very own podcast, its own stream. It is actually live now on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, everywhere you listen. And it has its own YouTube channel, its own Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything. So if you search Investment Friday in Apple Podcasts or Spotify, if you search Investment Friday at Investment Friday on YouTube, you will find it. And that's where you will continue to hear everything that's happening with the economy, financial education topics from me and my good friend, Brad Haynes, who's the Chief Investment Officer of Juncture Wealth Strategies. So just a reminder. If you just listen to this one, awesome, great, I love it. If you also love the Friday episodes, or if those are your favorite, go check it out, go subscribe, because starting in February, that will no longer be on the Expansive CEO feed. So that's it. That's my update. Lauren, do you have any updates, or are we good?
Well, I was just going to say, look at that 6th-line manifesting generator just at work, right?
She's working.
Yes. All these things that she wants to keep, all this on the plate she wants to keep spinning and be the role model. Look at you. Speaking of profiles.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. That is my work, is like to understand what plates I want to keep spinning. And when I don't want to keep spinning those plates, rather than just like throwing them against a wall, how do I gently transition them somewhere else if that's what's right? So yes, these all feel really good to me right now and really exciting. I feel super energized by everything that's happening.
Yay. And I just want to point out too, there's a difference between a pure generator and manifesting generator. And maybe particularly specifically between me and you, of like me, I'd be like, we're done here, and just walk away and just be like, nope, don't care where it lands. Don't care how it breaks. We're good here.
Peace. I'm out.
Deuces. I overcommitted on that one. We're good.
Oops.
My open ego was like, sure, I can do that. 3 seconds into it. No, I don't want to.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yeah. Speaking of profiles, oops, learned how that one didn't work.
So let's dive into it, because speaking of crunchy and what can be hard, we landed last week, kind of landed the plane with, hey, we're going to pick up on 3-5 profiles this week. So when we're talking about profiles, if you pull your human design chart, the profile lines are here. I'm gonna share my screen.
There you go.
Here, right? Because well, that one's not going to help. We're going to go to not to my Uranus opposition.
Oh no, people are like, what the hell are we looking at?
What is what is that nonsense?
Listener, we'll talk about the Uranus opposition on some other episode.
Some other time. In Riverside. Come on, baby. We can do this.
We did it last week. Come on, let us do it again.
Show my screen. It's like we've done this too many times already. Anyway, your profile line. So when I say I'm a 6'2" manifesting generator, 6'2" is my profile. And I think you can see this now. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
So when you look at your lines, this black side, oh, here's your conscious side. This red side is your unconscious side. I'm going to zoom in even so we can see better. This 4.6, that 6 line is my first profile line. And then coming over here to this top box on the left, this 8.2, that 2 is my second line. And then in this chart here, it shows you right here, the 6/2 role model / hermit. So that is my profile. Those are my profile lines. And then as we are discussing this, as we talk, like, so take that into account. Each one has a theme. So the 6 is the role model, the 2 is the hermit. So as we're talking about, I'm going to stop sharing. As we're talking about the 3/5 profile, we chose that one for a very specific reason to start with. But the 3/5 is 3 is the martyr and 5 is the heretic. So we have the 3/5 martyr / heretic.
Yeah. Talk about crunchiness from the get-go. Those two words in and of themselves. Right? What's a martyr? Somebody in the traditional sense of the word, somebody who dies for their cause, dies for their purpose. And a heretic is somebody who challenges, right? Who goes against the word, who, makes sure that what they think is going on is not necessarily correct, or could be different, or could be better, or whatever the case may be. So from the get-go, right? We talked last week, sometimes the language, you gotta broaden your willingness to see these words from a different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really get into every profile has its crunchiness. This one maybe, like if we were to rank all 12 of them, this one might top the list in terms of crunchiness.
I think so. I mean, I was telling you before we started recording, like I have pulled hundreds and hundreds of charts, and I actually have quite a few 3/5s among that. And anytime I read someone their 3/5 profile, every time it's like, wow, that's good for me, special. Like, that's love that journey for me.
Awesome.
Not in an excited way.
Yeah.
Because as you hear it, it's like, does that have to be me? Can I choose a different one? Like, literally, that's usually the response that I get.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we take a step back, right? So let's kind of look at martyr and heretic in a different lens. Martyr, if you go and look at, actually, I think it's gate 10, line 3, that is the line of the martyr. And the martyr, part of it is really understanding the mechanics around each line and how they align behind the scenes. And we don't need to get into all those details, but one of the most important things is that the third line is here to be mutative. It's here to bring something new into the world, because it is the line that goes out there and figures out what doesn't work. And by going out and figuring out what doesn't work, they become the martyr, because a 3 line is the line mechanically that truly is here to be knocked down, get back up, and keep going. And so martyr is more in the lines of 3 lines. You're here to bring some, and I'm a 3 line. I'm a 1/3, so not necessarily exactly the same, but I can certainly talk to the 3 line energy. We're here to be the people who are like, what is she doing over there? Like, what the hell? I told her, go try X, Y, and Z. Well, we have to go try X, Y, and Z because we have to figure it out for ourselves. And that's where the martyr comes from, is that we're designed to be the ones to go out there and mess up and make a mistake and be on our happy way after we do so and say, oh, Okay, I see it now.
Mm-hmm.
That's what martyr really means. You're built to get knocked down and get back up. The challenge is, though, if you don't necessarily understand that energy, you're going to feel like your life is made to suffer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and depending on what other channels you have activated in your chart as well, that could like double it up.
Yes. And what gates you have and, how it all comes together. And then you look on the other side of the heretic, right? So that's the fifth line. The heretic is more the person who's here to, the fifth line is also related to the general. So when we think about our leadership roles when it comes to each line, a fifth line is here to be a great leader in crisis. Why? Because a fifth line is here to figure out what the practical solutions to get us out of whatever's going on so that we can move forward. And that's what a heretic is. It's really out there kind of like, we're in the crap together. We got to figure this out. Clearly what's going on isn't working. Oh, by the way, I went and gathered all of these practical solutions in my own experience. Here you go. You take these and be on a merry way. And then once my job is done here, off I go. So it's not bad.
Right.
It's not bad at all. It takes a lot of work, but it's not bad.
Well, one of the things I actually really like the description that's in this one. So I use this one a lot. It's the Definitive Book of Human Design, The Science of Differentiation by Linda Bonnell. So it's great. It has a lot of more concise information. Lauren has books with lots and lots more information. But this one's good as the shorthand. I really liked this description in here though. So I'm just going to read a little bit of it. So it says the background. If the theater is on fire and the fire department has not shown up due to budget cuts, the person standing in the middle of the theater yelling, "This is not right," while at the same time organizing a fire brigade and finding all the exits, is the martyr heretic. The 3-5 profile combines two potent agents for change: resilient, adaptable, and mutative. The conscious third line focuses itself primarily on discovery in the material world and lives a very physical trial and error process, which allows it to sustain itself and others with its discoveries. Martyrs are equipped to take the heat when they stand up and tell the truth about what isn't working. That's the one that, like, I think people feel that they're like, oh shit, yeah, I've experienced that. But they are not equipped to meet the other gracefully. Life bumps into them and they bump into it. So that one, especially that line, like, yeah, that's definitely me, the one yelling, "Why is there a fire? Why isn't the fire department here? All right, everybody, let's get going." That little metaphor has resonated a lot for people that I've talked to. And then also led to that feeling of like, good God, why isn't there anyone else?
Yeah. Where the hell is everybody? Why is no one here? I love that line too. I got my book right here too. I live and die by it. And that brings up another part of the crunchiness of this profile. And this actually is a part of most profiles too, and I think we talked about this a little bit last time, is that each of the 6 lines make up a hexagram. Like together, they make up the hexagram. The first 3 lines are what in the world of human design we call the lower trigram. And the top 3 lines, 4 through 6, are the upper trigram. Well, 3 being a line in the lower trigram, not necessarily here to, how do I say this? Not necessarily here to know the other. The 3 lines on the bottom have no idea that there's like another gate on the other end. They don't know that there's like something else out there. Right? And then the other 3 lines do. They're here to be social. They're here to be transpersonal. They're here to interact with the bigger world. So think about that in terms of crunchiness. On the conscious side, you don't know that other people are there with a third line. Like, obviously you do, right? But energetically, you're like, oh, there's something else out there? Where the 5th line is like, yeah, bro, like, come join the party. Like, we're here to be among other people. I help you figure that out. So think about that in terms of crunchiness, that your mind thinks or believes yourself to not be alone. I don't want to paint that picture, but it's your brain just thinks like, oh yeah, I'm just in my own process. Like I'm just kind of like absorbed in myself, and whatever, what everybody else wants to do is what everybody else wants to do. But then that unconscious fifth line, the thing that we can't see about ourselves, your body is just in the energy of the world. And it's like, no, 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 no. We got to be out there with other people. There are other people on the other end. Like we got to be out there so that we can gain these practical solutions, because, oh, by the way, as a fifth line, everybody else is projecting on me.
Right.
And if I don't have the answers, oh dear God.
That's, that projection of the fifth line being projected upon that it can, that's the thing. Especially, so whether that fifth line is conscious or unconscious, in the case of the 3-5, it's the unconscious, it's being projected upon that it can fix someone else's problem. Someone is seeing you, say you, our dear one listener, are a 3-5 profile, and people are projecting onto you. They see you and they're like, you can fix my problem. And then they want to leave you with the problem. Mm-hmm. Like, here you go, you fix it. And so that's I think therein lies the maturing of the 3-5, is to know, use your authority and your strategy to know what is correct for you to take on. Mm-hmm. When someone says, hey, I have this issue and I think you can help me, you then use your authority to say, yes, this is something I want to engage with, or not.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
Because otherwise, then you're just always, I think the other hard part for the 3-5 is that if you don't know that about yourself and you're like, God, people are just always bringing me fires to put out, and you just keep putting out the fires and you're exhausted and you're like, why does this always happen to me? Because you're saying yes to putting out all the fires, every single one that gets presented to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to tie that back to your type, because if you're a generator and you're like, yeah, sure, go ahead, I got it. And you're a projector and you think, well, this is the way I get success. Yeah, let me take it on. A manifestor, well, yeah, I'm here to make impact. So sure, go ahead. A reflector may not necessarily understand like how their openness like takes on and can be wildly conditioned by the environment around them. So yeah, that's how it all comes together. And another interesting thing is I always like to go back to like when someone was a child, because that's when all of our conditioning really just kind of like, that's when that's when we started carrying all the baggage that we have today. Right. And think about a parent who has a 3-5 child, who has a parent, from a 5 standpoint, the unconscious of the parent thinking like, oh, I have this wonderful child that they're just the savior. Like they are here to, whatever for the family. And then on the 3 side, they're just making mistakes left and right. And then all of a sudden the parent is like, what the hell are you doing? What's going on here? Why is now my savior, the person who I thought was going to save this family or save me as a parent, doing all this random shit that doesn't make any sense? And so from a 3-5 child, it's like, well, whoa. And unconsciously, right? They have no idea that their energy exists in this way. And they're kind of like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm just over here trying to do my process. And, when we talk about like as a parent, raising a 3-line child, whether it's conscious or unconscious, and I will say this from experience, 3 lines take on a lot of guilt and shame because we're constantly out there like fumbling through life. And this idea of quote unquote making mistakes. We're not making mistakes. We're just trying to figure out if whatever the thing that is actually works the way that it can work for us. So we're constantly, I will say in my family, I was known, and sorry, listener, I was the fuck up. And that was like my identity. It was like, oh yeah, Lauren, just go Lauren, do it. And and carrying a lot of that guilt and shame. So one of the most practical things that a parent who is raising a 3-5 or you're leading a 3-5, ask them questions about what they learned.
Yeah.
Like once they've gotten through a project, or once they've gotten through an experience, or if you're raising a 3-5 child, once they've gotten through a game, or if they're an athlete or a performance, if they're a musician, and they feel like they didn't do really well, what did you learn from that experience? Because I'll tell you what, the crunchiness of a 3-line can really hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love, even what's written here again is that like, there is that reminder to like really extend grace to your 3-line child, because that like feeling like you're always a failure is when you're on the other side of it now, right, in your 30s and your 40s, when we actually are like, I mean, at least for a lot of us who are doing this work now, like seeing it, like I wasn't a failure. I was just doing what the best I knew how to do. And I was trying things and I was trying to figure it out. And that's not failure. But when it's seen as, or parented from, or parents, teachers, coaches, if they are reinforcing that message of failure, like the way that just imprints on your poor little heart, right? It's like, ugh. And I don't have, well, one of my children is a 3-5 and one of my children is a 5-1. So I've got the 5-line twice in there, but my oldest is the only 3-5, the only 3-line in our immediate family, which is interesting. But that's, I mean, I can't imagine shaming her for trying and seeing what's, like, it doesn't cross my mind to do that. And then at the same time, this is such a good reminder too, for me to really, as gosh, she's 14, almost 15 now, and like has to try things more, and to just be, again, that sense of stability, give her grace, let her try, let her be different versions of who she is until she feels like she gets to the right place.
Yeah. Any 3-line that can be supported by someone who's as understanding and is open to allowing the process to take place is immeasurable. I mean, it's like, and I notice it now that I understand a little bit more about my profile and how the energy really works. So, listener, I'm a 1-3. I've gotten better at recognizing who's willing to let me do my thing and who's like, okay, what's going on here? And then to anybody who's like, well, what's going on here? Depending on my energy towards that person, or whether I'll be honest, whether I want that person in my life or not, I'll either explain, well, hey, part of my process is I have to go through the process. Part of my process is you can't just tell me things. I have to try it out. And the 3-lines are the people who are like, who ask a question, somebody gives an answer, and then the 3-line goes and does the thing anyway. And the person being like, well, why'd you ask?
Right.
A 3-line has to go figure it out. Like, we have to go, like, is what they're telling me really accurate? Does it really work that way? And then 3-line has to go figure it out. And again, because we don't know that there's like another end out there, that's why things bump into us. And for 3s, any 3-line, wherever it is in your profile, like, you're going to have to tell me, you're like, what the hell did that come from? Right? Like, there have been times in my life, I'm like, oh, holy hell, what's going on? How did that come into play? And, even from a relational standpoint, 3-5s, you have a really special place in the world, and being able to have so much resilience, and then to be the people who are kind of like, yeah, I've been through the fire. I recognize what doesn't work. And oh, by the way, now here are all these practical solutions that I can now hand you. And if it's correct for me to give those to you, man, they're really powerful people.
Yeah. Yes. And then for you, when in that energy, like when you learn to then follow your authority,
Mm-hmm.
follow your strategy and your authority, like the potency of that is even more amplified, right? When you are um if you're a generator and you're responding to the situation and say like you're sacral like me or like Lauren, and you feel that full hell yes of like, oh, I am all in, here is everything I know, and that's like the perfect person to receive all of it. um it's so, I mean, it feels so correct
Mm-hmm.
on both sides when the alignment is there. I even talk about this actually in my niching course of like, who's your right
Mm-hmm.
person is the person who can receive all of what you have to give.
Yes.
Like, you have so much wisdom. That 3-5 has given you so much wisdom from bumping into things, trying something different, figuring it out, and then doing it, a better way and a better way and a better way. The person who can receive that from you, it's like they have a bucket that's big enough for you to pour into, versus someone who comes to you with a little cup and you're like, I have this bucket and I'm going to pour everything into your little cup, and then it just spills everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't receive it. They can't receive the wisdom that is there for you. And
Mm-hmm.
then if you're working or responding to um, too many people who come to you with a little cup, right, it starts to feel so disheartening.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't matter. Like, none of this matters. Like, no one, right? It's like it leads to so much other resentment or frustration when you're constantly trying to pour from your bucket into someone with a very tiny cup.
Yeah.
That makes sense. What's coming up for you with that?
Yeah, I kind of go back to the relational side of the profile, and listener, really exciting thing happening in February. We're going to talk all about partnerships, but every profile has its relational way, its intimacy, its theme of intimacy when it comes to and again, intimacy doesn't necessarily have to mean romantic. It could be any partnership that anyone gets into. And that 3-5s can have challenges, right? And that, again, if you read while Hannah and I love the definitive book of human design, if you go out and try to read that on your own and you have very little context for human design, like, your head will explode and nothing will make sense, right?
Right.
And it just becomes, it's like, what, I don't use words that I understand. But again, if you read kind of the pure language of human design, you can say that 3-5 specifically can have a very hard time in relationships and can have a very hard time in long-term relationships. That doesn't mean that they can't have them. It means that every profile, regardless of what the line is, comes with awareness about how those themes really work. And so if you look at both of them separately, and this is part of the crunchiness of this design, is that 3 lines are here from an intimacy standpoint. They're all about bonds made and broken. 3s have to move in and out of relationships to really determine through their strategy and authority if that person really is for them. And moving in and out of a relationship could be something as simple as, let's say you're a married couple, right? You see each other in the morning, you both go to work, and you come home. That's a bond made and broken. You've broken the bond by not being in the same room with one another, and you come back and you make it again. And 3s really benefit from having different people to interact with. 3s are not great. I shouldn't say we're not great at routines. They're not necessarily when I say routines, I mean like the same person over and over and over. And it's like, okay, honey, we're done here. I gotta break it to make sure that we're okay still. And then if you look at the fives are here to be influential among strangers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's something about that projection field that somebody who's not a five in their profile could never really understand it. My best friend is a 5'1", and I was like, when I sit back and look, I'm like, oh my God, so many people project on you. Like for you to come save the world, to come save their ass, to come have all the answers. And so you can really see it when you like take a step back. Now, while she has a great community and she has a phenomenal group of friends, like she is really influential among strangers. And she's here to be influential among people she doesn't really know. But think about those two things like working together or against each other of like bonds made and broken, you got to move in and out. And you're really here to influence strangers. So think about that from a long-term relationship standpoint. Well, the person isn't a stranger fairly quickly, right? And so again, it doesn't mean that 3 5s, have to be single for their entire life or they can't be in a business partnership or whatever the case may be. It is about understanding the crunchiness and to say, hey, I recognize the awareness. And from a 5 standpoint, right, you're going to have friends. I mean, it's not like you're not going to have friends. But, my friend is a sales VP. So she's constantly interacting with different people and different clients and meeting all these people and being all over the place. That's how the 5 gets his juices out and then is among its people. That doesn't really need to influence, right?
Oh, that's so important. And that's another, when we talk about kind of really, I mean, like the business applications of it as well. But the more so in the sense of like, where do you naturally have the most influence? Right? And that's a place like for people with that 5 line, like for some people, especially if you're a 2-4, a 4-1, a 4-6, like you're meant to be with your people. Mm-hmm. And you're meant, like really people are meant to like bring people into you. Mm-hmm. But those 5 lines, those are like, hey, go out into the world. Like that is actually more correct and more in flow for someone with a 5 in their profile to go out into the world and be among the strangers, like, or to work with strangers or to, speak on stages to people they don't know. Right. Like that's very, aligned. Doesn't mean that other profiles shouldn't also be speaking on stage, all those different things. But if we think about from a lens of what is most in flow for you, what's going to be the easiest, I'm going to use that term because it is easier. Mm-hmm. It's easier to understand. Like when I tell people with a 4 line in their profile, hey, like try this. They're like, oh, wait, that's how it already works. I'm like, yeah, I bet. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you probably do get a lot of your clients from close referrals or people bringing, here's your, I call it the bullseye. So the 4 line, you're the bullseye. If you're 2-4, 4-1, 4-6, whatever, you're the bullseye. And then your next, the ring out from the bullseye is your supporters, your family, your first circle, your close circle. A really important way for you to meet new people, if that's part of how you work, is for your circle to reach out to that next circle around and go, hey, come meet my best friend, come meet this amazing person. And they bring people from those outer circle in to you. And when I describe that, I mean, really, it's a referral based business, but it's like, oh yeah, that is already how my best clients have come to me, or, whatever that looks like. Mm-hmm. So it's again, does that mean you'll never get clients from speaking on stage or from having a podcast or from whatever? Having a funnel, no, doesn't mean it won't work, but it just might not. You might be pushing a boulder uphill.
Right. Like it wouldn't necessarily be maybe the most effective strategy for a 4-line to do cold DMs or cold calls or whatever. That might be great for a 5.
Right. Yeah. And so if you have, oh my God, Lauren, we're getting to this point too, or even in the conversation where it's like, why does this matter? Why do we need to know these things? Because if someone is a 3-5 or a 5-1 or any other 5 profile, and they're like, you know what, I do this and it works amazing, and so that's what you should do too. Nope, stop. Everybody stop. Hold on. Put on the brakes.
Hard pause.
Hard pause. Yes. Because no. Maybe if you have a very similar design to that person, then yes, maybe that is exactly right for you too. But let's actually take a step back, find out who you are, and see if, putting your energy there is going to be effective.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is a great transition into how this works for you professionally. Let's talk about from an entrepreneur, like a 3-5. Let's say you're a service-based provider. Let's say you're a coach. I'm just going to throw that out there because that's what we both know, right? You're going to benefit from seeing different clients all the time. Shorter containers, and that you have the opportunity to move in and out of those clients. Again, that's the bonds made and broken. And from a 5 standpoint of people loving you from a coach's standpoint, or even from, a consultant standpoint, in that you bring the practical solutions. And just being cognizant that they are going to project on you, and that, let's go a step further. Let's say you're a 3-5 projector. Okay. And the invitation, you're a consultant or a coach, we'll just call them maybe one and the same, right? You've signed a contract, i.e. you've been invited into this, let's just say, organization, right? So the energy bond is there. You've been invited, and you have the opportunity to move in and out of clients, and the projection field is there. And just knowing that the invitation is open, and that you also have the opportunity to say, as things come up and 5s are in these environments, and the more people they interact with, the more projections that are coming on them. Because it's like, oh, I see or feel your energy. Even if the other person doesn't know what the hell is going on, you can just walk up to a 5 and be like, oh, this person's gonna be the person. And they're like, what the hell? Why? But part of this is knowing that your personal success formula, as I like to call it, is knowing that the projections are coming. Uh-huh. You can't do anything about it. You can't stop them. You can't change them. You can't diminish them in any way. But let's say you're that coach consultant in the organization, and you're doing a great job, and you're providing what they ask, and they keep projecting on you that you can do this, or you can do that, or you can do this, that, and the other, of recognizing that even though the invitation is there, the energy bond is there, you also have the opportunity to say, that's not my area of expertise. I recognize that you see the talents that I can bring, but that's not for me. And in having the courage to say, well, I appreciate that. Right. And not allowing that scope to get so big from what you originally decided you were going to do. And now it's out here. And now you're like, oh God, because a 5's reputation is under the gun. If they can't deliver on the projection that other people have of them, and often they have no idea what the projection is on them. That's why it's important to understand all of this, so that you can stay in your lane, you can stay in your scope, and that as a business owner, you're not trying, again, I always say, you're not trying to shove 50 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. And then you're like, well, this shit stinks. I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
What do I do with it?
Well, I think that's also a perfect segue, because I wanted to bring in the Gene Keys a little bit here with the 3-line as well, because Richard Rudd puts just a little bit different language around it that I think also helps a ton. Yeah. So the conscious sun, so in a 3-5 profile, The 3 is on the conscious sun.
Mhm.
In the gene keys, that is 1, your life's work, and 2, your brand sphere. So it encompasses both of those spheres in the gene key map, life's work and brand. And when we look into the prosperity sequence or the pearl sequence, it's the brand sphere. And the line 3 in particular, it says if you're a 3rd line brand, your secret weapon is humor. Why? It's so humor. Like, what are we talking about here? Because you have to go through trial and error. It's exactly in line with everything that we hear from Raw and Human Design. It's just that it says by its nature, the 3rd line carves its life story out of the unexpected. This is not ever anything to be concerned about. It simply means that you're here to learn from a wide diversity of experiences along the pain-pleasure spectrum. And as a 3rd line, you may therefore live many lifetimes in your single life, some of which are successful, some not so successful. And if you can take every experience, this is the invitation for 3 lines. If you can take every experience and ask exactly what you said before, what did I learn from this? What wisdom have I gained by going through this experience? That's where we can then apply the humor, right? If it's like, no, I mean, yes, you will experience pain. You will experience things that are hard. But when you can look back with that, almost like the humor to me is almost like the, oh my gosh, like one, it's, oh God, that was a little cringy, and you can laugh at yourself a little bit, or you can see hindsight, you can see the steps that you took that were like, oh, that wasn't a good idea, right? And you can have that lightheartedness about it. Mm-hmm. That's one of the places where you can then know that you've actually integrated the lesson. Mm-hmm. When you're not looking back at it with shame and with guilt and with still in the pain of it. Mm-hmm. If it still hurts, then it's still not healed.
And you haven't learned fully what you need to learn,
right?
Or what's intended to learn from what you went through.
Right.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. Right. I've gotten to the point where for me on my 3rd line, my go-to saying is, oh, I see what I did there.
I see what I did there.
I see what I did there. And it truly is about having a sense of humor and being able to find joy in the messing up and this, that saying of like, you had to go through it in order to see what it was all about. I mean, that's a 3rd line life, no matter where it is in your profile. And this idea that you can look at yourself as somebody who's always here to suffer and go through the hardships and go through all the pain, or you can look at as, wow, I was put on this earth to be a warrior of sorts and to have the resilience that when I get knocked down, I can get back up. And whether I learn the lesson in 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months, or 3 years, I'll get there. And everybody else is either going to have to accept that this is how I live my life, or, that's when you can make the decision through your strategy and authority of, well, is this the right person to have in my life? Based on how they receive my energy, right? Is their cup full enough to watch me go through whatever I have to fumble through, to have grace and to be able to be waiting on the other side of like, I'm just waiting for her to get there. Then we'll have the stories. I'll either see her cry, I'll see her laugh, I'll see her scream, I'll see her punch a pillow. Maybe I'll see all 4. But when I've seen all 4, that's when I know that she's gotten through it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes now that I understand the 3, I'm just like, yeah.
Like,
I don't know. Okay.
So we're we don't have rights to it, so we're not going to play it, but the Chumbawamba song, go get it. I get back down. I get knocked down and I get it up again, right?
Yeah.
Never going to keep me down.
And that's why threes are built with so much resilience. It's because they are here to be mutative. And if they didn't have the resilience, they wouldn't be able to get back up.
Mm-hmm.
And, genetically, we just want all the difference. That's why, like, from a partner standpoint, again, here's another crunchiness part of it, is that threes can be somewhat promiscuous. And that doesn't necessarily, again, mean in the traditional sense. But from a three line, the genes specifically in the three line, they're just like, give me the most different gene I can possibly connect with.
Variety.
Yes. Like what Raw always said was the joke was like, it would be like a redheaded Irish woman heading to Jamaica and having a one night stand and creating a child. I mean, look at that differentiation.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the bond's made and broken. It's always about just coming in and out and going back and forth. And yeah, as a three, you might be quote unquote promiscuous in terms of the people that you connect with, and your friends might all be very different variety of people. That can also what it means by promiscuous is that like you don't necessarily have a consistent theme of, oh, these are my people. Your people could be all different kinds of people. And I look back over my life and I'm like, oh yeah, I do have like wildly different friends, which is amazing because it's like, oh, well, I get to go in and with my open G, well, let me go in and out and be a different person among all these different people.
Right? Try it all on.
I'm just like shimmy in with my three line, like, hey.
Well, that also, from what I just read too, that that like as a three line, especially in the brand sphere and in the conscious side, like you're here to live many different lives.
Yes.
And I can even see that in you like in the progression of like where even just career wise where you've been, like how different from being a D1 swimmer to being an HR professional to being a coach for athletes to being full on human design, dive all the way in, right? Like you have had, and it's not like any one thing was just a short period either, right? Like you've dived into so many different things to try on, to learn from. And sometimes like this is such a funny thing to feel like, but sometimes I'll see other people who are in their 40s or 50s and they've been like, I was 15 years here and I was 10 years there and I did that, and I'm a little jealous. I feel like, well, I've just done the one thing. Like, man, I feel like I didn't do enough things. Me, Lauren, me. Yeah. I'm like, I don't do enough things.
Yeah. I'm going to call bullshit on that one. I'm going to call bullshit. But you raised an interesting point because you can't talk about any three line without also talking about the six line. And if you think about it, the three line is actually the most prevalent among profiles. I think if you look at all 12 of them, a three line experience is in half of them. So a 1-3, obviously a 3-5, a 3-6,
a 6-3,
a 6-3, a 6-2, and a 4-6. Because the six line experience has that tripartite. Is that how we pronounce that word?
Sure.
Which is called a 3-step process as part of the profile. And that first 30 years is a three line process. The challenge to that, though, is that six lines, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you're looking at it, or how correct you are, maybe let me put that way, and conscious you are of what your six line experience is. That first 30 years is a quote unquote three line experience, but you're not built with as much natural resilience as a three line, because a six line isn't meant to be mutative, but it is meant to experience that as a part of its life, which makes that three line experience from 0 to 30 or 32, whenever you transition from your Saturn return, very vulnerable, can be very painful.
Oof. Yeah.
Yeah. So I always love to hear from sixes, now that you understand that separation, that distinction of the first 30 years, the next 20 years, and then 50 and beyond, 50-ish, right? What that first 30 years really felt like, because I can venture to guess the whole guilt and shame probably is mixed in as well, because no one, even including yourself, didn't understand what was going on.
Oh, certainly. And the perfectionism that came from, I mean, like my conscious son is also a line 4 or a gate 4 rather. So one of the themes of that is youthful folly, literally making mistakes as a child and even now. And I had the most exquisitely painful example of that last year, actually. And, of course, I had been contemplating like, oh, I think other people perceive me as very understanding. Like it's, intolerance is the shadow, understanding is the gift, and forgiveness is the city in gate 4. And intolerance to mistakes. Intolerance meaning I cannot tolerate when things are going wrong, right? Like versus understanding, like having that gift of compassion, but different from compassion. That's its own line, its own gate as well. But there is definitely that seat of compassion there with the understanding. And I, had arrogantly was like, I think I'm moving into the understanding. Other people perceive me as very understanding. Where then do you think the intolerance still mainly lives?
Within you.
When I make a mistake. And I was full on scammed last year. Actually, this was an episode on the podcast. You can go listen to it if you want. I wanted to buy Taylor Swift tickets to take my daughter to the Eras tour, and there was a scam happening at the time where people were going in and taking over real profiles on Facebook. So it was someone, like not someone I knew specifically, but they had taken over the profile of someone that one of my good friends had told me about. Right. And it was like, oh, I meant to connect you with her anyway. So like very, very weird coincidence that this person was like, oh, I'm supposed to meet her anyway. A scammer had taken over her profile and was saying she had Taylor Swift tickets to sell. So I got like burned, like big time. It was like, I want to say like $2,000.
Yeah.
And the moment I realized I was being scammed, I felt it in my whole body. And the thing that came out immediately was, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like that's what was coming. It was literally like my inner 5-year-old panicking about having made a mistake. And went and I told because I had asked Adam about it. I was like, oh, there's like this person who's selling these tickets. They can't go. It's so like a friend of a friend. And he was like, oh yeah, do it. That sounds great. Hazel's going to love it. And I texted him and I was like, it wasn't really, it was a scam. This wasn't. And he came home from when he came home from work, it was like kind of right around that same time. And all he said was like, just that grace wrapping up of like, hey, like, it's okay. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It's okay. Like, I'm not mad at you. Like that, like literally that's what my inner child needed to hear. I'm not mad at you. But it was so, yes. Like when I realized that mistake, it's like my whole body got hot. My entire, like just the entire, like flames. And that intolerance to like, oh my God, I've made a mistake. I'm in so much trouble. Right. And like, oh, yeah, that's who needs it. That's who needs the compassion and the understanding. And then I went and talked about it on the podcast so that because that scam was going around for a little while. I was like, this literally happened to me. Please don't buy tickets from anyone that you think you know. Just don't do it. Why was I telling that story? Do you remember?
Because we were talking about the 6-line experience, the first 30 years of your life.
Yeah.
And again, it's not as if you moved out of your 3rd line experience, but You also have.
But that trigger, and I think, that's why that came up. That trigger was definitely, right, like younger, like inner child.
Yes.
And so like that came up so profoundly. And in that 6 line experience, the other thing that I know for myself, I hated making mistakes as a child. Again, that was the other part, right, of that story of like, that felt like a big mistake. Like I should have seen it coming. I should have noticed sooner. I should have like, all the warning bells should have like, shoulda. But also when I was a child, I hated making mistakes. And I wonder if this is a difference between the 6 line and the 3 line, that I also, like, I have always wanted to learn from other people's mistakes rather than making my own. Always.
Oh.
So I love mentors, and 6-2s really are drawn to other 6-2s
Yes.
as well. Like they're very familial kind of. But yeah, that's like having mentorship, having someone else, like watching and learning from other people. That's always been my preference of like, I don't want to learn the lesson. I want someone else to learn the lesson, and I will just do it right.
And then teach me.
And it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work that way.
It doesn't. And you telling that story actually brought up, I am the only 3-line in my family. I was raised by a 6-2, a 5-1. I have a 4-6 and a 2-4 siblings. I'm the only 1-3. So it's funny that both my parents are left angles and all children are right angles. But anyway, yeah, you relating that story, even to this day, if I make a mistake, particularly in relation to someone else, the nervous system response is one of, oh my God, I am going to throw up and this person will be so mad at me. I will be told how terrible I am, or that, that I should be better, or, what all, like, it's as if the unconscious guilt and shame just like rushes in. And then it's like, no, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was this, I was that, I also have an open gene, open ego, and an open solar plexus. Like, please, like, bring
please,
on
don't yell at me.
Yeah, please bring on the guilt and shame, because they're really fun. But I recognize that now, and it's typically when if I make a mistake on my own, it's like, oh, okay, cool, whatever, doesn't matter, I'll figure it out later. But if I make quote unquote make a mistake in relation to someone else, with the history that I was the fuck up, and well, there goes Lauren again, and you brought some consciousness and awareness into, oh yeah, that's where that little wound comes from.
Yeah.
And it's been challenging for me to accept those who are like, yeah, it's okay. I wasn't going to say anything to you. Like, I wasn't going to berate you at all. And I'm just like cowering in the corner, like, oh my God, please don't ever look at me again, because I don't think that I'll ever be able to face you, those sorts of things. And, I've now found people who are just like, yeah, come on, I'll embrace you. No big deal. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I like it, but it's really uncomfortable and cringy, but okay. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The life of 3 lines, whether you have it in your profile, it's a portion of your profile. But everybody, I would venture to guess 99.9% of the population is a 3-line somewhere in there.
Yes, either a 3 or a 6, right? Yeah. But especially a 3. And I was, in our last couple of minutes here, I was going to share that a little bit more too. Here we go. I'm going to figure Riverside out. We're getting there. We're getting there. Here we go. Because again, my profile is all over the internet, so whatever, we're just using it. There's, my 6 is here, but I do have that 3 line in my life path, those 3 lines in both of my moon placements. I have 8 6 lines through my profile. So it's a lot. I have a lot of 6 line energy. So that's 8 on the 6s. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3 lines specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 and 8. So 13, half of my line energy is rooted in that 3. 3 or 6.
And also this idea among 3s where, and we talked about this before we got on, and I was ruminating on this in a powerful way, is that, 3s are, as martyrs, we're here to pay the price. Like, we are the ones to go out and whatever the price is. But one of the interesting things is that because the 3 line is tied so intricately to the material plane, as a 3, if you're not operating correctly, you will pay the price materially.
Mm-hmm.
And that one,
yeah.
that one really hurts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the opposite being that if you are correct, you're going to pay a price, because it's part of the line. You can't get rid of that crunchiness. You can't go to the universe and be like, no, sir, I don't want
Thanks
this
for doing this.
You can have this one back. You can't get rid of it. But what you can do is, one, recognize if it is very strong energy. And by strong, I mean, if it's a part of your profile, because your profile makes up 70% of your energy, and then all the other lines trickle in with the other 30, you're going to experience it. And it just depends on, whether it's in your profile, you'll experience it obviously more consistently than anybody who doesn't have it. But to recognize, like, to look back on your life and, like, where have you really paid the price financially? And recognizing, and that can be a practical step for any 3 line, is to say, oh God, where have been the times where I have just like, oh God, I literally just flushed money down the toilet. And those can be situations where you haven't been operating correctly. And then to kind of reverse engineer the situation of, okay, who was a part of it? How did I make the decision? What was the final decision? Those sorts of things, and be able to kind of like go through the details of that and say, okay, what about that situation, or where in that situation may have not have been acting correctly? What's the lesson I learned?
Yeah. So the invitation then here for sure. If you have your chart, look in your chart and see where your 3 lines are specifically. Look at your 6 lines as well. And that, again, could hold a lot of wisdom, especially from your younger years, or if you're under 30 right now and you're experiencing life as a 3 line. And I mean, if you have a partner or a spouse, what are theirs? If you have children, definitely what are theirs? As we said earlier on, like, being able to parent a 3 line child with grace and with compassion towards, like, they got to try stuff. They got to run into the wall and fall down and get back up. Like, they have to.
Literally.
And even if you don't want them to, they're going to.
Yes.
They're going to. And so to understand that more fully about them, I mean, there is no greater gift you can give to a child who needs that grace.
Yes.
To be the support person for them. So yes, like, look at your chart, find your 3 lines, see what that looks like. And again, it's the second number. So it's like 64.3 or 1.3 or, whatever. So it's the 0.3 or the 0.6. And if you are like, well, I mean, I know a little bit about this, but I need to know more, what can they do, Lauren?
Yeah, well, this is where a reading really comes into play. And if you're new to human design, that's where we get into what we like to call a discovery reading. Like, you're literally discovering a little bit more of the detail. And that's just a really great foundation to start with, just to start piecing together what all of this really means. Because again, as we've talked about before, you can take this little detail and be like, oh my God, yes, I see it in my life. But we need to tie it to the other really important pieces for it to really start making sense. So there's that discovery reading if you're new. And if you have been in the human design or gene keys game for a while and want to dive deeper, that's where we can do an advanced reading. So that might be, we just go really deep into your chart in very specific ways. You can come to us and say, hey, I'm really struggling in this area. And we will tie it to what you're experiencing in life. Or for those who want to go even further, this is another advanced reading, is the incarnation cross reading, where we really dive into your purpose and the purpose you're here to fulfill in life. And we really do dive into profiles because it is so integrated into your purpose and into your incarnation cross.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And then how it shows up, because like two people could have the right angle cross of service, which is Lauren's incarnation cross, but have it on different lines. So Lauren's a 1-3, you could have a 6-2 right angle cross of service, or, you could have a different profile line in there. But the profile that you have is going to mean that you show up in a certain way.
Yes.
With that incarnation cross. Yes. It's super important.
Yeah. Even my husband, that's a new term that I'm using. My ex-husband, he was a right angle cross of service. He was a 4-6, but his came through, his was inverse of mine. So his was 18-17, 52-58. So while the same, and a 4-6. So while quote unquote the same cross, wildly different expressions. Yeah. Not only because of the gates and how they align to one another, but certainly a 1-3 versus a 4. Oh God, I just hit my microphone. A 1-3 versus a 4-6. And I always thought, oh, we're so connected on our, and then I was like, oh, no, we're not. They express each other very differently. Oh, that was part of the problem.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which we'll get into in February when it comes to partnerships.
Yes. So much juiciness. Okay. So this is, let's see, what's the date that this is going out? This is, if you're listening on the day that this is out, this is the 20th, right? So it's January 20th right now. We're talking about crunchiness. If you have any questions that you're like, hey, what about this? Like, this has showed up, or I got a reading one time and they said this thing and I really didn't like hearing that. Send us those things. Either, Lauren at expansiveceo.com. You can send her an email there. Find either of us. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, whatever. Like, find us somewhere. Send us a DM or an email directly is easiest for sure. Yeah. But tell us about that crunchiness. What did you experience? What are you having a question about? We would 100% as generators love to respond to your questions.
Oh my God. Give us all the crunchiness.
Yes. So we can talk about it. But I think in this next episode anyway, I would love to dive a little bit into some of the other profiles, and just kind of go through some of those. What about a 2-4? What about the crunchiness of the hermit, and being like, no, you got to go out, but you got to give yourself that creative space, but then you got to go out into the world. Mm-hmm. Pretty much every 2 line is paired with something that says, hey, get out there.
Yeah. Hey. You gotta see the other side. Somebody else is out there. They're knocking on your door.
Right. Get out of the cave, please.
Yeah.
So yes, like how do we deal with all of those things? But yeah, I am, Lauren, I have to say, I'm having so much fun. I'm so glad we get to just like jam on this and dive into it as deeply as we are getting to dive in. And dear listener, like seriously, so happy for those of you who are listening and share and follow us on YouTube. If you have enjoyed any of this so far, like and subscribe on whatever platform you enjoy, and leave a review. That's super helpful. Mm-hmm. This year is all about visibility, sharing, getting the message out there more fully. So any boost, share, like that you can give, if it feels true and correct for you,
Yes.
we will take it.
Yes.
And receive
Even if it's
it.
a bit crunchy, we will take it.
Right. We will receive it with love. So thank you so much. Anything else, Lauren?
No, but Hannah, I'm having a blast. These are so fun. Like when we get on here and we talk and we have direction, but sometimes that direction meanders a little bit. But we are also both generators who are non-emotional. So we get to do what we want in the moment, and that's what makes it perfect.
Love it. All right. We're going to keep doing that. You send us your questions, and we will see you next week.
Bye, friends. Bye, listener.